Hello, my name is Matthias and welcome to the FPL Scope and my team selection video for Game Week 22, where I'm going to try to recuperate some points that I've lost in the last few game weeks. I'm not having the best time in FPL and I've gone from around 47k in Game Week 17, 18, down to 187k now in Game Week 21. So yeah, before I get to my Game Week 22 plans, I'm going to go through my Game Week 21 score. Also going to look at the manager of the week from this week, who did much better than me this week. Also going to take a look at the free hit team that I selected for Game Week 21, which wasn't really that good either. Then I'm going to try to select a free hit team for Game Week 22. We're also going to look at the plans for the manager of the week for Game Week 22, and then we're going to come to my plans for Game Week 22 as well. So first and foremost, my Game Week 21 was not the best. I got some good points from Isak and Palmer, but that didn't really help me because a lot of people had captained those players instead. So it actually hurt me that those two people got points in terms of the overall rank. Meanwhile, I had Captain Salah. I have sort of just made the decision now. I think I'm going to stick with it to just Captain Salah no matter what. But I think, starting to think of, obviously after a game week like this, it's easy to think that I've made a mistake and I should just adjust course basically and select Palmer or Isak as captain potentially next week. But yeah, we'll get more into the captaincy discussion later. But yeah, for now, I've selected Salah as captain. Might still stick with that because he is going to come good eventually. He had a good few chances at least towards the end of the game against Nottingham Forest, but once again he blanked for the second time this season in matches against Nottingham Forest. He's blanked twice against them and then one time across the rest of the 17 game weeks or whatever without the Nottingham Forest game. So yeah, I do expect Salah to strike back, and hopefully I'm thinking that if I captain him next week, a lot of other people will jump to different options like Palmer and Isak, and I might get a more differential captain in Salah who could outscore them. But yeah, definitely need to make up some points there because Salah got 2 points, Isak got 16 points. That's 14 points lost with me if I had captained Isak rather than captaining Salah. So yeah, not the best there. But the rest of the team, at least I got some points from my Crystal Palace boys. I got a clean sheet from Munoz and I got an assist from Ismail Assar. So that helped at least a little bit for me. Sar also got the clean sheet points as well. So he got 6 points in total. Apart from that, pretty damn lackluster. I was hoping to get saved by Bruno Fernandes and Joao Pedro now, as I'm recording this on Thursday. But Joao Pedro got subbed off after getting a yellow card and got 1 point. Didn't get a goal return. Played 73 minutes and got subbed off. Really disappointing once again from Joao Pedro, who doesn't look like a good option currently. And Bruno Fernandes had a decent game. He could have had an assist. He could have had a goal. But in the end, didn't get either. And then Amad Diallo stepped up and got a hat-trick and got 20 points, which is sort of like what I was not what I was hoping from Fernandes, but I was hoping for Fernandes to get parts of those points that Man United got in that game, because he did score 3 goals in the end against Southampton, but Bruno Fernandes was not involved in any of them, and Amad Diallo scored all 3 of them, which also hurt my rank. So yeah, not a good day today either on Thursday as I'm recording this. This is going to be posted on Friday though. But at least Bruno Fernandes somehow managed to get 2 bonus points. He is a pretty good bonus player, but he did only get 19 BPS points, like bonus point system points, which is really low for someone that gets 2 bonus points. So yeah, kind of weird circumstances for him to get 2 bonus points, but I'll take anything that I can get currently because my team is struggling badly. So in defense, I had Sanchez getting 1 point as usual. He always concedes. Chelsea always concedes that 1 goal or 2 goals in this instance. And Sanchez has just been driving me mad all season since I wildcarded him in Game Week 6. Chelsea have conceded 17 goals or 18 goals since that time, but they just concede 1 goal every single game week, which is always ruining Sanchez's score. So yeah, again, pretty annoying, and I'm looking to sell him pretty soon, potentially for Alisson to have triple up on Liverpool. But we'll get more into those plans later. Speaking of Liverpool defense, Trent again disappointed. I had him brought him in last week against Man United. He got 0 points. This time he at least got 2 points, but once again Liverpool conceded, and it was Chris Wood who also was a huge detriment to my rank once again. So yeah, terrible game week. Gabriel also conceded against Spurs. It looked like he had scored. Celebrated like crazy for that equalizer against Spurs, but then it showed that it was actually Dragusin and Solanke that touched the ball. Meaning that it was an own goal for Solanke rather than a goal for Gabriel. So that also hurt my chances, basically. Rodgers at least got an assist for Watkins. Happy about that. 6 points for him. But yeah, that's pretty much the team for this game week. Also had Cunha on the bench, and kind of disappointed to see him be benched as well for Newcastle. For future game weeks, that's not the best. I'm hoping that's just a one-off, but he had rested the 2 games before because he was suspended for 2 games. So yeah, I'm not quite happy about that either. He also looks like someone that I could potentially need to sell. So yeah, not the best squad currently. There's so many good players now in Anthony Gordon, for example, Chris Wood, who's doing really well. Robinson in defense is doing really, really well. Lewis Hall. I've just missed a lot of Newcastle players in general for this really good run that they've had for the last few game weeks. And now the matches are sort of starting to dry up a bit with Newcastle, but they are in such good form that I'm still considering bringing in those players. But yeah, I think it might be just a little too late to jump on the Newcastle train for me. But yeah, we'll look into that later. But yeah, altogether, 57 points this game week. Not the best. I made 0 transfers at least, so I didn't lose any transfers or lose any points from transfers made. I have 2 free transfers next week, so maybe I can work some magic, I guess. But yeah, this season is going downhill fast, and I need to try to fix it somehow, whether that's through patience or through doing drastic moves and doing changes. In terms of transfers, I don't really know, but we'll see what happens in the future. But going for someone that didn't have the best game week in me, we are going to go to the manager of the week this past game week, who obviously, seeing as they are manager of the week, they had a really good game week. So let's check this person out. And the manager of the week this week is Rith Rodriguez from Cambodia, I think, which is really cool. Again, fans from all over the world here at the FPL Scope, which is really nice to see. And Rith Rodriguez has joined the FPL Scope Mini League, and that means that they can be featured as the manager of the week if they get the highest score. And that happened this week with 108 points. Even without the 20 points from Amad Diallo, who is not in this team, it was enough to be manager of the week. So before the Thursday, this manager had no players left for the Thursday games, but had like a 18-point or 19-point lead to the next person. Almost got overtaken due to the Amad Diallo 20-point haul, because that helped some players also above the 100 mark. But still, Rith Rodriguez held on to the number 1 spot to get the best rank this week in the FPL Scope Mini League, basically. And that was due to a lot of good players, as you can see. Dubravka in goal, which is someone that I have sort of neglected as like an option in the wildcard drafts the last few weeks, because he has been the starting goalkeeper in the absence of Nick Pope the last like 5 or 6 game weeks. And he has also gotten like clean sheets almost every single game week and been really, really good. This time around, 10 points, some nice saves as well. Wolves actually looked pretty threatening in that game for parts of it, but Dubravka kept the clean sheet and got 10 points. Munoz with 6 points, Robinson with 7 points from the 2. This is, again, I can do Robinson and Iwobi in the same sentence. 2 pretty lucky goal contribution things there between Robinson and Iwobi. Twice, Robinson played the ball to Iwobi, who crossed the ball into the box, and a Fulham attacker tried to score it, but instead sort of just made Fabianski confused, and the cross from Iwobi went straight in, which meant two assists for Robinson, including bonus, and 2 goals, including 3 bonus for Iwobi, and that really helped this manager get over the top and be manager of the week, basically. Digne also with 6 points, a clean sheet for Aston Villa there. Gordon with 9 points being, once again, a really good option. And Mbeumo, who I thought looked like a good option this game week against Man City, in a game where I expected Man City to concede some goals. They did concede some goals in the end, but it took Man City to take the lead 2-0 before they managed to collapse once again defensively, because they are pretty bad defensively. But Brentford played really defensive football throughout this match until they went down 2-0. And at that point, they scored twice, and Mbeumo was really close to getting the winner right at the end there, but it was saved off the line from Nathan Ake. So if that had happened, Mbeumo would have had probably a goal and probably 3 bonus points from getting the winning goal, basically, and that would have made Mbeumo get 10 points or something like that as well, which would have helped this team even further, obviously. But 2 points from him, 10 points from Palmer, which was really good, 2 points from Salah, which was really disappointing, but at least this manager, unlike me, didn't captain Salah. They captained Isak instead, who got 16 points times 2, 32 points for Isak. Fantastic for anyone that captained him. Congrats if you went there. There were some doubts about Isak in terms of health going into the game, and I think that put some people off and went for someone like Palmer instead, or potentially to Salah. But Isak ended up being the best choice out of the 3 main popular players currently in FPL. And then finally, Watkins with 9 points had a nice game against Everton, scored the goal from the pass from Rodgers. And that was enough for a 9-pointer, getting the bonus points and all that stuff as well. So this team as well has 3 Nottingham Forest players all on the bench because they faced Liverpool. Sells in goal, who got 3 points. That was a good decision to start Dubravka over Sells. Wood in attack with 9 points, scored and got 3 bonus points against Liverpool. The man just doesn't stop scoring. So that would have helped as well if he had come on rather than Mbeumo, for example. But yeah, I think it was the right play. I probably would have played Mbeumo rather than Wood myself this game week, which yeah, probably isn't the best considering the form that I'm in currently in FPL, but I think Mbeumo deserved some points in the end there and Wood got his as usual, basically. Kwanzaa, which is a bit of a dud. This manager did actually a wildcard in Game Week 20, so this is a pretty fresh team in terms of wildcard and stuff. I really wish I would have saved my wildcard until Game Week 19, so I could have had a really nice team for this section of the season, but yeah, I didn't do that. So yeah, but yeah, this manager wildcarded in Game Week 20, which means that they have a really good team for the next few game weeks as well. A really solid team with some Aston Villa players here, with a favorable fixture against Everton this week. Next week when they play Arsenal away, Nottingham Forest have a really good fixture against Southampton at home, where you can bench the likes of Digne and Watkins and bring on Wood and Aina and even Sells in goal as well. So yeah, really nicely put together team, 108 points. Gone up to around 1 million in rank. Not the best rank, but also not terrible either. You still have a chance to get into the 100k, at least top 100k for the end of the season. And a really nice way to start it now. But the one downside with this manager is the fact that they have also used bench boost and free hit, especially on top of using the wildcard. So only triple captain left and assistant managership that's going to come into play in Game Week 24. And the lack of free hit especially will be a bit difficult for Game Week 30, as we'll get into when we look at the plans for this manager, but we'll do that later. First and foremost, we're going to go through my free hit team as well for this game week, which was nowhere near the ideal team. As I try to like make a free hit selection team every week to try to show you the players that I think are ideal to have. And sometimes it falls very much short of the manager of the week, for example, which it has done this week. So let's take a look at the free hit team. 61 points for the free team, at least a little bit better than my own team, but again, making a pretty massive mistake in doubling up on Man United defense rather than doubling up on Man United attack, because if I had done that, I would have had Amad Diallo rather than someone else, rather than Masraoui, for example, and then switched out a midfielder. And that would have given me 20 or 18 more points, I guess, compared to Masraoui or Mbeumo, depending on who I would swap out and who I would swap in as well. So yeah, that's a bit of a miss. Also, obviously, the captaincy choice, not the best with Salah over Isak, but yeah, I've decided to back Salah now, so I just gotta stand behind it, I guess. But good picks here. Gordon at least was there, on top of having Isak. Hall as well with 6 points. The Newcastle boys have just been absolutely fantastic lately, so if you have had Hall, Gordon and Isak for the last few game weeks, then you're probably doing a lot better than me currently in FPL, at least for the last few game weeks. Munoz as well in this team with 6 points, and Sarr as well in this team in my free hit team, obviously. They delivered the goods, but Man United defense obviously conceded against Southampton, and it's not really underserved either, because Southampton were creating a lot of chances, and Man United looked really bad for the big part, like most of that game. They looked pretty bad until Amad Diallo got in further, like super offensive positions and scored a hat-trick in the end there. Yeah, I also went for Haaland in this team. Super backed him to be like a nice differential, but it ended up being Foden who was the nice differential against Brentford, scoring twice. So that would have been nice to have him as well. But yeah, it wasn't meant to be, I guess, this week. Just a bad game week in general, both in terms of my team and in terms of the free hit team. So let's try to do something better for next week, both for my team and also my free hit suggestion for game week 22. As you can see, I have done basically a free hit draft, or you can't really see it, but I have done a free hit draft every single game week so far this season, and I've accumulated the points to just see how it does comparatively to my own team and to your team, I guess, as well. And these free hit teams in total would have had 1,385 points at this point in the season, which would have been around the rank of 88k. So still doing better than my own current team, but also in a sort of a downward trajectory because I haven't really been making the best picks the last few game weeks. So yeah, I really want to change that. So let's take a look at my picks for Game Week 22 and hope that they are a bit better than what I did in Game Week 21, basically. So yeah, for Game Week 22, I'm going to start with the goalkeeper and work my way through the team, through the defenders, midfielders, and attackers, and then talk about the bench as well. Some interesting bench players presented in this team. In goal, Matt Sells against Southampton at home. I think that's a pretty easy choice. Southampton did score now against Man United, but I do think Nottingham Forest, who are way more solid defense than Man United, will keep a clean sheet here. So I've gone with Sells, who is the best goalkeeper in the game, and I've doubled up with Murillo actually in defense, who just looks really, really good and has been really good for bonus points as well. He is a goal threat in terms of set pieces. He's a pretty interesting defender, to say the least, and a really good defender in so many ways. He can score from corners. He can have some really nice passes as well and runs forward. So there's a lot of avenues to points, and he's also only 4.6 million. So I think Murillo is actually a really, really good option, especially this week against Southampton. Anthony Robinson has been in fantastic form lately, playing against Leicester, one of the worst teams in the league. So I'm expecting good things from him. He's in the team. And then Hall, basically, just because a lack of other options. I do think there's a good chance that Bournemouth score potentially, but again, Newcastle have been so good defensively, and Hall has been so good offensively as well, that I think he has a chance to get attacking points and potentially getting the clean sheet as well. When it comes to midfield, I'm going to stick with Salah captain. Once again, I'm just going to have faith in the greatest FPL player of all time and hope that he does something well. Brentford away, which I think is going to be a game where Brentford once again try to be defensive and get a point that way, or get some points that way. But if Liverpool score early in this game, I think there could be basically a lot of points across the board, and especially for Salah. So I'm going to back him as captaincy choice, but I do think Palmer is a really good option, especially, and potentially also Isak, but I'll get to those players as I talk about the team. But yeah, speaking of Palmer, playing against the Wolves defense that looked really, really bad against Newcastle, Isak had a really easy time to score goals against them. Got 2 goals and 1 assist, Isak, against Wolves. And I think Chelsea can sort of dominate Wolves as well, as we saw previously in the season. Chelsea beat them 6-2, so I think this is has a really good potential to be a high-scoring game once again. So I think Palmer is actually probably my favorite captaincy pick if I had to choose someone. So maybe I should switch it on the free hit draft or even my own team. I'm not quite sure. I think I'm going to just stick with Salah no matter what, because that's sort of what I decided on. But I don't know. Maybe I should adjust and do something different, because I haven't really been getting decisions right lately anyway. But yeah, Palmer is a fantastic option. So I think he is definitely someone you could captain, and I would probably advise you to captain Palmer over Salah, and we'll see that reflected in the manager of the week, basically. But yeah, Phil Foden playing against Ipswich. He's in tremendous form now. Not only did he score twice against Brentford, but he has quite a few goal returns lately. He is finally getting back into form, and Man City are, as they usually do, starting to turn things around a little bit, I guess, at least offensively, but defensively they still concede goals. They managed to get 2-2 after leading 2-0 against Brentford. Can't really trust them defensively, but offensively they've looked really good, and Foden is a big part of that. He's finally getting back into his zone and looking a lot better, and Ipswich is a really nice fixture, I think, both ways, because I think Ipswich can score against Man City. I think it will be a quite open game, so I think Foden could be a really good option this week as well for anyone that kept him. Congratulations, because he has been fantastic the last few game weeks. And then finally, Amad Diallo, I sort of just had to put him into the team after seeing his performance against Southampton. You have to expect that he plays further forward now that he did against Southampton, especially with Diogo Dalot coming back into the lineup there. And we've seen how good Amad Diallo can be in these advanced positions. So yeah, still really cheap, and that makes him a pretty nice selection for this free draft. Brighton at home, I think, is a decent game week to get some points as well. That was the same game where Palmer got a massive 4 goals earlier in the season. So yeah, I could see Amad Diallo doing good things in this game as well. Chris Wood, obviously, playing against Southampton at home, just need to have him. He's in really good form. Just this season, he's been fantastic. So I think that's a pretty easy selection. And then Nicholas Jackson has not been that good lately. Had another pretty interesting game last time around for Chelsea, creating a lot of chances, or getting 2 big chances, creating a good chance, hitting the crossbar, getting a yellow card. He got an assist, a really nice assist, by the way. I really love the assist from him. So yeah, he was pretty much all over the place, but he has just such sky high potential. I saw a statistic, I think, where the last 6 or 10 games or whatever, he's had more XG in total in those games than Chris Wood has had across the season. And in that time, Jackson has scored 0 goals or 1 goal, and Wood has 12 or 13 or 14 goals across the season. So yeah, I think Nicholas Jackson has a really high ceiling, and Wolves is a team that I think Chelsea can definitely beat, as they did earlier in the season when they beat them 6-2. So I think Jackson could be a really nice differential this week, if you've kept him all this time especially. But yeah, also someone that you could potentially look to buy. But yeah, just his form currently is making him not as appeasing, I guess, as an option. But I still think he's really good for Game Week 22. And then Isak against Bournemouth, you just sort of have to back him. I think Bournemouth are a really good team, but we saw also Chelsea score twice against them, so Isak can definitely do the same. He's just in the form of his life, and he is also a fantastic player. In my opinion, the best striker in the league. I'm saying that as a Norwegian, a blonde Norwegian as well, just like Haaland, but for me, Isak is better because he can do so much on the pitch. He can create his own goals. He can set up teammates like he did for Gordon. Even though he was on a hat-trick, he passed it to Gordon, tried to pass it once, didn't work, and then he tried to pass it again, and it worked. So Isak is just super good in general, and yeah, I think he's absolutely fantastic. So yeah, he has to be in the team. Even though Bournemouth are a pretty good team, especially also defensively, they have had pretty good defensive numbers across the board. So I don't want to double up with Gordon. I don't think they're that. I don't think the fixture is that good for Newcastle, but I think you just need to have Isak at this point. So yeah, he is in the squad as well for the free hit draft. Also have Dubravka as a decent option off the bench, just in case Sels doesn't play, but I do expect Sels to play. And on the bench, I also have Enzo Fernandez, who is now playing a bit further forward since Romelu Lavia is back into the Chelsea team. I think anyone that bought Enzo Fernandez when there was a lot of hype around him, I think you could keep him, and that could work out because I think this game is there for the taking for Chelsea offensively at least. Mazraoui against Brighton, maybe not the best option, but yeah, I figure I should just pick a Man United player at home, but you just saw him conceding at home against Southampton, so maybe not the best option, but I'm hoping that I don't need him, or the free hit draft doesn't need him this game week. And then Castagne as well, just a nice backup option in case someone needs to be subbed off, or two players need to be subbed off in defense. Just a cheap option playing against a pretty weak opposition there. So yeah, that's the whole team. 101.4 in terms of team value, this team, so most people can afford this. There's some money left in the bank. Before Amad Diallo's hat-trick, I actually had Savinho as the player there rather than Amad, because he has Ipswich and he's looked really good lately as well, Savinho. So he's also a nice option that you could potentially consider. But out of this team, I only have 4 players myself, and 3 of them are Salah, Palmer, and Isak, which are in every single squad. So yeah, I'm not too happy about that, seeing that the best team, in my opinion, in GW22 is pretty far away from what I have currently myself. But yeah, we'll get into that pretty soon. But first, let's take a look at the Manager of the Week and their plans for this upcoming game week in GW22. I would say this is just me speculating or thinking, because I haven't asked this manager personally what they are going to do. But in my opinion, especially considering the chip situation here, no wildcard, no free hit, you're going to need as many free transfers as you can get basically for the future game weeks. Also, when it comes to the blank game week in game week 30, you have most likely 4 teams blanking, or like there's a good chance, especially Newcastle are looking likely to blank in that game week, and they're also facing Aston Villa. So that's 4 players or 5 players even from this team that will not have a game in game week 30, just from that fixture alone, assuming Newcastle beat Arsenal and go through in the FA Cup. And also, if Liverpool go through in the FA Cup, as people expect, you have 2 Liverpool players there, and they face another team that I can't remember right now, but I think this team has another player from, I think it's Crystal Palace actually, Munoz potentially, that they're facing. So it's either him, or if Spurs go through, I think Spurs and Fulham have a game week or have a game in game week 30, and that would mean Robinson and Iwobi are out. So I think at the very least in game week 30 you'll have 5 players blanking, and I think at most it could be like 7 players blanking in game week 30, and you don't have a free hit, you don't have a wildcard to navigate that. So saving up transfers is super important now to be able to manage those weeks and sell a couple players that you need to sell, and bench the other players that you need to bench to have like a team of 11 players at least, or as many players as you can for game week 30, assuming you'll get a lot of blank players there. Also, the free transfers are pretty important later on after that as well, especially seeing as there's no wildcard here. There's going to be another blank in game week 34. There's going to be doubles coming up both in game week 25 now, where you only have Salah from Liverpool and no Everton players. Kwanzaa is also on Liverpool, but he doesn't play, so you basically have 1 player for the double game week in 25. So you need transfers just across the board. So seeing as your team is actually looking really strong for this game week, I think just doing no transfers and saving as many as you can, like I said, is the right thing to do. So stand pat, I think that's like clearly the best option for you. You do have the triple captaincy chip that you can use in game week 24 on Salah, in my opinion. I think that's really good use of that. But with that out of the way as well, you only have the assistant manager chip left to use. So just keep that in mind in general. So yeah, but for this week, I think you have a really solid team in general. If you just bench the Aston Villa players against Arsenal, I think that's the right decision to do. But Watkins could score against Arsenal. He's done that before. So maybe if you prefer him over Mbeumo, I think that's like the decision for you, who to bench out of Mbeumo and Watkins. Mbeumo plays against Liverpool, Watkins plays against Arsenal. Pretty tough opposition for both players. But yeah, it just depends what you want to do in that aspect. But I think that's basically the one benching decision that you have. Other than that, I think Sels is quite a bit better than Dubravka in terms of those guys. I don't think Digne is better than any other defenders. I think Munoz can score against West Ham. Was pretty close to scoring against West Ham last season. So yeah, I think he's a good option this week as well. So, and Kons obviously is not going to play, so he's also just going to be on the bench. So yeah, pretty straightforward this week. And in general for the future, like I said, saving up transfers is key for you to navigate the later game weeks. This is a manager in their first full season. I looked at the manager history, played like the very last end of last season, got like 200 points in total last season because they probably joined pretty late FPL. And then this season they've decided to start from game week 1 and doing pretty well for the first season as well. 1 million is a really good rank for your first season. Even though you've used a lot of your chips. I haven't really looked at the chips and how that worked out for you, but at least the wildcard in Game Week 20 has looked pretty good, but you would have wanted to have that later on in the season as well. But yeah, that's as usual for new managers. The chips are really exciting because you haven't used them before and you want to use them early, but often it's smarter to save your chips for later on in the season where you get more double game weeks, more blank game weeks, and the likes basically. So yeah, just keep that in mind for next season especially. But yeah, this manager also, I looked at their profile in FPL. Not really in many leagues apart from the FPL Scope Mini League, so hopefully you're watching my videos. That would be cool. Comment down below if you are, and if you have any questions about your team and how to navigate those future game weeks. Also recommend going to a site called fpl.team, which is a free site where you can look at future game weeks and see how your team is going to look for game week 23, 24, 25, 26, and also game week 30. You can also push a button if you scroll further down. You can push a button and you get like the fixtures that they expect to happen and the blanks you expect to happen, where you can see how badly your team is looking for game week 30, assuming the games, assuming Liverpool and Newcastle go through to the FA or the League Cup final, basically. You can get sort of like a better understanding of what's going to happen later on in the season there with that site, fpl.team. So check that out, whether you're this manager currently listening, or if you're someone else in the same situation where you don't have free hit, you don't have a wildcard, and you have a lot of players that are potentially blanking in game week 30. That is going to be really helpful for you for the end of the season. And yeah, basically that's just the case for most people now. You sort of have to prepare for the end of the season and how you're going to navigate those game weeks. The transfers that you do now should be sort of more long-term, or depending on what chips you have left. I think wildcarding in game week 30 is going to be a good tactic for most people that have wildcard left. So yeah, just keep those things in mind when you look at the future game weeks, and that's generally the best advice I can give to most people currently. Just have the late season in mind, which I've said like 8 times now, so I think you get the point. But yeah, let's move on to my own current plans as I'm blabbering along here in this video. Yeah, I also have to sort of think long term, and I have sort of said that I'm gonna just save up transfers, but it is really, really tempting now to just get Chris Wood finally in the team. I should have done Cunha to Wood probably a couple game weeks ago when I had the chance, but yeah, I didn't do that. That has cost me some more points. I might still do Cunha to Wood. I think that was like my thinking going into today, Thursday, as I'm recording this. Or actually, it's past midnight now, so it is actually technically Friday. But going into Thursday, I expected potentially to sell Cunha to get Wood, but now I'm gonna keep Cunha and get Wood still. But no, I am looking more potentially into selling Joao Pedro to bring in Chris Wood into the team. So yeah, I might do that. I also might just stand pat and hope that Cunha and Joao Pedro, both of them, just turn it around. Both are super attacking, important players for teams that can create a lot of good things offensively. They're also both penalty takers, most likely, for their teams as well. But they've also been sort of, not the best lately in FPL. So yeah, I don't know whether to be patient or to just get Chris Wood, because he is someone that just needs to be in most teams. It seems like he just is so consistent. Nottingham Forest are for real. They are legit. They showed that against Liverpool as well. And I haven't had a Nottingham Forest player all season, so maybe I should just change that now. So those are my likely transfers. Most likely I'm going to go Joao Pedro to Wood. Could potentially do Cunha to Wood, but I also could just stand pat and hope for the best and just stay patient with 2 players that are potentially really high ceiling players in Cunha and Joao Pedro. Especially Cunha eventually gets better fixtures. He has some pretty tough fixtures now. And this next game week as well, not the best fixtures, with Chelsea away for Cunha and Man United away for Pedro. But we saw Cunha score a hat-trick against Chelsea last season. Yes, it's a completely different Chelsea side now, but we also saw Wolves score twice against Chelsea earlier in the season. So I think that is a game where Wolves can score goals. So I don't think Cunha is like the worst player to keep for this game week. I think he's going to start as well. Came on at the half against Newcastle and had a pretty good chance, created a pretty good chance for himself. That was almost a goal for him. So I think he's going to start next game week, even though he was surprisingly benched against Newcastle. So yeah, I think Cunha is still pretty good. João Pedro, he has an easier opponent in Man United. We just saw how badly Man United looked for at least 80 minutes against Southampton. So I don't think it's a bad fixture per se. And also I think maybe Welbeck could potentially start or at least play more in this game with João Pedro behind him. And that's when João Pedro has been at his best earlier in the season, when Welbeck has been leading the line and he's been able to play alongside João Pedro. So saying that, I feel like I should just keep João Pedro because he's going to play in his favorite position now and potentially be a better FPL option than he has been for the past few game weeks. Playing as a striker, which is kind of counterproductive or counterintuitive, I guess, that he has done worse now that he has a striker rather than being a number 10 player. But yeah, I think it just works better as a number 10 with Welbeck in front of him. So yeah, that's basically the decision I'm between. Amad Diallo is obviously also someone that is tempting, but currently I'm pretty happy with my midfield players. Salah, Palmer, Fernandes, Sarr, Rodgers. It's basically pretty close to what I think is like the template or like the ideal team to have if I was to wildcard now. Gordon obviously as well would have been another player. Gordon and Amad in for Sarr and Rodgers is probably, or Fernandes and Rodgers potentially, or Fernandes and Sarr, I don't know, is maybe the best midfield currently, but pretty happy with my midfielders, so I'm probably not going to move for Amad Diallo, but yeah. Those are basically my transfer plans. I said that at the start of the video now, or not the start of the video, but at the start of the GW22 plans. Usually I go through the team first, so let's go through the team as well and see how good it looks for this game week. And I think it looks decent. Sanchez in goal, just not expecting anything. He just keeps getting 1-pointers and 2-pointers for me, so I'm expecting the same again, that will score. Probably Cunha if I sell him, and probably Strand Larsen if I keep Cunha. That's just usually what happens in FPL, I guess. In defense, Munoz against West Ham, I think that's a decent game for Palace. They were really good against West Ham last season. Obviously, there's a new manager for West Ham now, but yeah, Glasner has shown that he can he can basically take the mick out of West Ham. He did it as a Frankfurt manager against West Ham in the Europa League a couple seasons back, and also they scored 5 goals, I think, last season. I think it was in the double game week as well, where Mateta went crazy and Munoz almost scored and stuff. Sarr didn't play for Palace at that time, but I think he has a good chance against West Ham as well. But yeah, Munoz, decent start for me this week. Gabriel against Aston Villa, I don't think that's the best. I think Aston Villa has a chance to score in this game, but Gabriel also has shown that he is close to scoring at least on corners, and he's also close to getting clean sheets all the time, so he's still a really good option. And then Trent, I just have to keep him basically for the double game week, but I'm not really too enthused about him in general lately, and Liverpool have been conceding more goals. They have been looking a bit more shaky. But yeah, I got to keep it for this game against Brentford. Could be a high-scoring game. Could also be a nice 2-0 or 1-0 win for Liverpool as well if Brentford play defensively and Liverpool get the goals in the end that they usually do. Speaking of goals at the end that they usually get, we have Salah as captain. I didn't mention that in the Manager of the Week, by the way, but here I have Isak listed as captain. Would probably go with Palmer captain now that I'm looking at it and thinking about it, just because he has a more favorable fixture. I also need to change the graphic, I can see, because I don't have the right... no, it is actually correct, sorry. Palmer plays against Wolves and Isak plays against Bournemouth, so I don't have to change it, luckily, in post. But yeah, Wolves, I think, is just the best fixture here, so I think Palmer would be the best captaincy choice for the Manager of the Week. Like, if I'm looking at it just from like an objective perspective. But going back to my team, I've said previously that I'm just going to use Salah as captain. It basically stems from me going away from Salah as captain, trying to get Palmer captaincy points earlier in the season, or like not too long ago, and that sort of burned me. I went from Palmer captain when Salah got the most points, then I went back to Salah and Palmer got the most points, then I went back to Salah or Palmer and then Salah got the most points. I switched between them, and the best player was always the one that I didn't pick, so I figured I should just stick with my captain instead. And have Salah captain every single game week. So that is still my plan. I might give it one more game week before I maybe adjust, because Liverpool aren't looking as good anymore. So maybe I should just take new information into account. But I don't know. I'm also just like worried that I'm going to go away from Salah and the same thing is going to happen again. And I'm going to be, again, not doing the best interest of captaincy, because that has been a major disappointment from this season. The captaincy choices have just been far from ideal. And that has cost me quite a few points in general this season, even though it's been a pretty easy season to captain people. Haaland at the start of the season, and then Salah since like game week 6 or from game week 6 onwards or game week 5 onwards or whatever it is. If you had just done those and kept the same captain, you would have had a lot of good scores. So yeah, that might be what I do. Just keep faith in Salah as captain, basically. But yeah, but like I said, Palmer is probably potentially the best option because Wolves are really bad defensively still, even with the new manager. And Chelsea can score a lot of goals against them. So he's obviously still a fantastic option. Bruno Fernandes, I'm just going to keep. Brighton at home, I think that's pretty good. And I think Fernandes has looked really good in general in FPL. He's always, even in this game against Southampton, where he played more centrally, didn't play in those attacking positions for most of the game. He still got in a good position to score and could have had some more points in that game. He's also the penalty taker for Man United, who are in the box quite a lot. So yeah, I still think he's a decent option. Sorry, against West Ham, I said that I think this is, and we also saw West Ham concede twice against Fulham. I think Potter has a lot of work to do to fix the defense that was left behind from Lopetegui, because it's just not that good. So I think Sarr can easily score in this game. And then we have the forwards. Isak obviously is an easy choice. He's also potential captaincy choice considering the form that he's in. He's scored in 8 straight games. Trying to gun for that record of 11 straight matches with a goal that Vardy has from back in the day. Isak could definitely do it, and I think he's a really decent captaincy choice as well, obviously. And then Cunha and Joao Pedro that I mentioned earlier both have like tough-ish away games, or at least big 6 away games, which you usually don't really expect much from. But like I said, I think Chelsea can concede, and I think Man United aren't looking that good currently. So I still think both are decent options, but Wood is obviously the more safe option at home to Southampton. He could easily score a brace or even more in that game. So yeah, I might just have to do Joao Pedro to Wood, which is what I'm likely going to do. But yeah, on the bench, Fabianski against Crystal Palace at home, Rodgers against Arsenal away. That's why I've benched him, because he has a tough fixture. Castagne against Leicester away. That's also a pretty good fixture. I could start him rather than Munoz, but I think Munoz has better attacking threat. Castagne hasn't really looked the best offensively, especially with a back 4. And then Mikolenko against Spurs, who probably is going to get a lot of points on my bench again, as he usually does. Everton looked pretty good under Moyes, even though they lost against Aston Villa, which is a tough opponent. So yeah, Mikolenko could come good later on in the season. But yeah, not a lot of positives in this game week for me, but the positives for me at least are, well, still within the 200k currently, which is not the worst position to be in. It looked a lot better just a couple game weeks ago, but still not the worst. I could still get top 10k potentially, but it's starting to dwindle a bit now. But still, there's almost half the season left. So yeah, got to keep my faith up and hope that it works out. And also, at least I have all chips remaining. I have the wildcard, I have the free hit, I have the triple captaincy chip, I have the bench boost chip. I even have the ass man chip that's going to come into play from Gaming 24. So a lot of fun and a lot of points to be had as well. This is like the main area to get points. I say that there's slightly less than half of the season left, but there's probably more points left in the end. I have like 1,360 points or something, and I'm assuming that I'm going to get more, like I'm going to double that at least for the end of the season, considering there's double game weeks and stuff. All the chips that I'm going to use, there's going to be more points available at the latter half of the season now. So yeah, I could still push on and do really well, but yeah, time is starting to run out a bit when it comes to getting a really good rank. But yeah, I'm going to hope for the best and yeah, hope that I do well this season. But that's pretty much it for this episode. Pretty long team selection video because I had the manager of the week and there's a lot of things to talk about, a lot of things to think about. Hope it was informative. Hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you are subscribed already, but if you're not, then please subscribe. That would be a massive help. Again, really close to getting to 1,000 subscribers, which would be a nice milestone for me. It would give me some cheer and joy as I'm currently struggling in FPL in general. But yeah, at least in life, doing a lot better with my broken arm. If you don't know, I just broke my arm right before Christmas, and it's getting a lot better day by day. So I'm really happy about that. So I'm still in good spirits, even though I'm not doing well in FPL, which is usually the most important thing. But not really. Like, you shouldn't take the game that seriously. And I've sort of learned that after having a really bad season. What is it, 2 seasons ago when I finished actually outside the 1 million, which is terrible for me at least. Since then, I've sort of been a bit more lax when it comes to FPL. Yes, it's gone badly lately, but doesn't really matter that much. At least like footballing wise, I had a really good weekend. Like most of the things that I hoped for happened to me, and yeah, that's also more important in FPL as well. So yeah, it is just a game. You just have to think about it like that. I know this is sort of loser talk since I'm doing badly, but yeah, it is just a game, and it's not really that important until I get a couple good game weeks. Then it's going to be the most important thing in the world, and I'm gonna be happy. But whatever. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video and that little pep talk, I guess, towards the end. Yeah, please let me know in the comments if there's anything you're wondering about, especially with your own team and your own team selection. I would be glad to help you as best as I can, but as you can see from my rank currently, maybe I'm not the best person to ask at the moment because I am struggling to find the answers. But either way, hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.